Hi, my name is Anwar Haneef, and I'm the product lead for Android TV ecosystem and integrations. First of all, I will hope everyone has been able to stay safe during these times. One area where we're seeing accelerated momentum beyond phones is the biggest screen in your house, the TV. 80% of US households have at least one internet-connected TV device. In these unfortunate times, most of us have found ourselves spending more time at home, and many of us are turning to our TVs to stay up to date and connected, not only entertained. Total hours spent with connected TV devices are up 81% year over year related to the onset of the pandemic. Just like a lot of families today, at my home, TV has become more integral to my family every day. With extended family distributed between the US and India, my family keeps in touch with local and international news on TV. Family time for us also includes time spending games together or following interesting recipes on YouTube on TV. I wish I could say that we do a lot more exercise videos as well, but doing that with an 8-year-old is a little bit challenging. At Google, we're committed to building users a TV experience that fits their changing needs in this changing world. Android TV is a platform that Google is developing for your big screen, and we keep working to make sure that it fits in with your new normal living room. Android TV is now built into TVs from 7 of the top 10 TV OEMs, including Panasonic, whom we added in the past year, and in devices from over 160 TV operators around the globe, including AT&T TV as well, when we launched earlier this year. We are truly humbled by the creativity of our incredible developers that have built around 7,000 apps that let users watch, play, and do everything they want on their TVs. Android TV has always believed in apps, and we believe in the benefits that an app model can bring to users when they have a direct relationship with their services. That is why we've been excited to be a launch day partner for some of the hottest apps. In addition to that, we're even seeing our users look for apps that help them use their TVs in new ways. Installs for apps that go beyond media, like fitness and education apps, saw install numbers nearly triple in April as people started to realize the expanded capabilities that their Android TVs provided them. Android TV has always been about giving our users choice. Choice in devices, choice in price points, and choices in apps and services. We've been happy to see so many users use Android TV. Connecting with these many people would not have been possible without our developer ecosystem. At I/O last year, we talked about our focus on making Android TVs more content-forward, assistant-ready, and commerce-friendly. And as we discussed then, we continue our commitment to you to ensure that the integrations that you do with Android TV continues forward as Android TV evolves. Since then, we have revamped the Google Play Store with a new UI and new app collections to help users discover more apps. The results have been incredible. The average user is downloading more than 3 times as many apps as last year. Recently, we introduced suggested contents to the home screen, sponsored by our partners and picked by Google Play. This helps our users discover new movies, shows, and apps from our ecosystem. We also introduced Cast Connect, so casted apps communicate directly with their corresponding Android TV app, giving users a richer, full app experience even when casting. Moving on to being assistant ready, we introduced an early access program for media actions that feed in your media catalog so users can discover your content on Google Search and Google Assistant and initiate playback directly on your app on Android TV. And we've been working on improving Google Assistant results to deliver more personalized recommendations to media searches like Find Action Movies. Scroll into the page to see even more multiple shelves of suggestions organized into themes. Lastly, we introduced a frictionless subscription integration, making it easier for users to subscribe to your apps and set up an account just in a few clicks. We are working with a number of partners on frictionless subscriptions who are averaging double-digit growth in conversion rates and new signups with comparable retention metrics. We keep working on making commerce even faster. Pin support for confirming purchases is coming soon. You can learn more about Cast Connect and frictionless subscriptions in our other 11 weeks videos. We heard a lot of great feedback from you on how we can help support you even more. We're focused on new experiences, tools, and technologies to help you make the most of Android TV with your apps. Dan Aaron, product manager from Android TV, will share more details next.
Thanks, Anwar. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Aharon, product manager at Android TV, and I'm very thrilled to be here with you all. I'm going to share a bunch of new things in Android TV. We had a blog post this morning announcing a bunch of new features, and we're going to cover 5 of them today. So why don't we get started? So the first is instant apps on Android TV. Second is improvements to the Android TV emulator. Next, new speech-enabled Gboard, Leanback library improvements, and auto-low latency mode, also known as K mode. So let's start with instant apps. So a lot of you are familiar with instant apps on mobile. It lets you try apps before you actually install them. And we've run experiments with a bunch of different apps, and we've seen that it helps increase acquisitions because sometimes users are worried to install a new app. Not all of them are ready to commit for storage space or other things. But when you can try it first, it increases the chances of conversion. And we've seen this on mobile, especially true for games. I'm excited to announce that now Google Play Instant Apps are available on TV. And I'm going to show you a short demo of how it looks like for a game called Orbia. So this is the Google Play Store, the Play with Your Remote row. And let me open up Orbia. So Orbia is a game, it was pretty popular in mobile. It won Google Play Award for Casual Game of 2018. And then it has an Android TV app that's pretty popular. Now it has a Try Now button because it's a Google Play Instant app. And the cool thing about it is, it's pretty easy to do. So once you have Google Play Instant in mobile, it's pretty trivial. Let's try it out and see how that looks like. Okay, so you see the game is loading up the screen. Okay, so there it loaded my alias and it loaded all the progress that was saved with Google Play Game Services. So I'm now in level 20 and I can jump back from where I used to be based on the crowd. So this is pretty hard. I'm going to try. Oh, well, let's try again. Okay. Guess it's not my day today. I encourage you guys to try. It's a pretty fun game. So cool thing is, you see now I press back button. I'm back in the Play Store and you can see the game is not really installed. I can still install it if I like it, or I can keep on looking. And so by having this very low barrier to entry experience, more users are going to try your apps. Okay. So, that was instant apps on Orbia. This was an example of a game, but instant apps is not just for games. It could be relevant for video on demand. It could be relevant for live TV. Especially on TV, we think it's a great way for people to try your content before they commit to download and getting more people to acquire your app. So next, let's talk about improvements to the emulator. So up until now, the emulator for Android TV did not have Google Play Store, and this was a common request we got from a lot of developers. It's important to test the user journeys of people installing your app. But beyond that, it's also important to support a lot of user journeys where capabilities that come with the Google Play Store are important. So for example, anything that uses Google Play billing. So now Google Play Store is available on the emulator, and let's see a short demo of how that looks like. So here we can see the emulator that you're all familiar with. But the new thing here is you can see the Google Play Store is now added. So let's go ahead and run the Google Play Store, and you can see kind of all of the familiar apps there. Let's go ahead and search, and what we're going to search for is epics. So if you remember earlier today, Anwar was walking you through our new subscribe and install feature. And so I'm going to show you inside the emulator how it looks like. So you can see there's, in addition to install, a subscribe and install button. And once you choose that, you have an option to tie your account. And then you click subscribe. Now you type your password. I'm not going to type my password, but this is basically the subscribe and install flow, and you can test it in your emulator, see if it works, and kind of fix all of the problems that you need. So there you have it. So that was Emulator. Now let's talk a little bit about the new speech-enabled Gboard. So many of you are familiar with Gboard on mobile. It has a lot of advanced features, and we're now bringing a bunch of those features to TV. Let me start with a short demo. So here you see an example of the screen in the settings menu that lets you choose a name for your device. In this case, it's a Shield. We're gonna name it Android TV Hero. So there you see the Gboard pops up, and a few things you notice immediately. One is it's much, much smaller, roughly a third of the screen. So that also gives you flexibility to put it on the left, put it on the right, put it in the center. Wherever works better for your app, you can choose as a developer where you want to put it. The other thing to note is it's a QWERTY layout. So we tested different layouts. We found that this resonates best with users because they're familiar from their other devices. So it's really easy to use. One of my favorite things on this keyboard is that there's easy access to all of the different letters. So if you have, let's say, a password that has a capital A, it's really easy to kind of go and do that capital A or whichever characters that you need. And you're seeing on the top, there's already this predictive typing. So you can go and access that. So let's go ahead and type our name that we chose, Android TV Hero. There it is, Android TV. And we'll type Hero. And there we are. So that was pretty easy. Now, let's also see if we can do it with speech. So let's do it. Android TV Hero. So there you have it, Android TV Hero. So one cool thing about doing speech in the keyboard is you can correct it on the spot. So even if the speech recognition didn't get it right, the user can just go and fix it, which is harder to do when you have speech built into your app. The other cool thing is you don't need to explicitly ask for permission from the operating system for mic, which a lot of users click deny on, because it all comes from the Gboard. One last thing that I forgot to mention is that the Gboard can actually come in all of these different layouts. So the default is the one we just looked at. But if it's an email input field, it will use a different layout that suggests typical domain names for emails. Similarly, if it's a numeric field, it can suggest numbers to enter. So let's just recap what we've seen in the demo. So speech to text, predictive typing, alignment in the center, left or right, QWERTY layout that's familiar to a lot of users. And it comes out of the box optimized for 30 plus locales, and more coming soon. You can see on the right hand side here an example of, when you're in a field, for email addresses, you could show the domains, and it's easier for people to interact with your apps. Okay, let's talk about Leanback library improvements. So today we're going to discuss 3 improvements that we're adding for Leanback libraries: paging, top tab navigations, and AppCompat. For those that aren't familiar with Leanback, Leanback is the framework that helps you build apps for Android TV faster and better. It kind of comes with a lot of the functionality that you need built in. So let's start with paging. So a lot of apps need to page through content. So you can see here an example where you only see on screen a handful of items at the same time, but the actual list is much longer than that. And luckily, Android X has a library to deal with it called paging. And it just so happens that as part of this 11 weeks of Android, we announced paging 3. I encourage you to go watch. There's a whole dedicated session for paging 3. The news that we're happy to share now is paging 3 is supported as part of Leanback. So paging 3 has 3 components: repository, view model, and UI. Today, we're going to talk about paging data adapter that's part of the UI. So the regular paging data adapter was not able to support presenters and did not have the capabilities you would need to use it in Leanback. But now you get all of that in the Leanback specific paging data adapter that we've prepared for you guys. So let's look at a code example. So normally, when you use paging data adapter, you have this declaration here where you declare an adapter, and you can see you have the first line and the third line. They're kind of the standard lines. What we did was we added the presenter. So this is the only addition for Android TV. And then you just continue with the same stuff you did for mobile. And then just like in mobile, you have functions that help paging 3 understand whether it's the same item or it's a different item. And then in the bottom, you can see an example of how you could use it in Leanback. So you declare a header, which in Leanback is typically used for the left-hand side for paging through items. You'll see an example of that in the next section. But before going there, header, you can see here is using some items, and then you declare a row using that header and the adapter that we have included above. So then the next thing is top tab navigation. So left-hand side navigation, as we just discussed, has been kind of a true part of Leanback for a long period of time. And a lot of developers have asked us to do top tab navigation. Up until now, they've had to do this themselves. It requires a lot of manual work. Starting from today, top tab navigation is a standard part of the framework. So let's see an example of how that could look like. So you can see here, there's some tabs that you can browse from left to right on the top. And then once you choose the tab you want, you can go up and down and kind of browse within the row. So now all that functionality, you kind of get it as part of Leanback. You can still customize the graphics, of course, to match whatever you want in your app. And here's an example of how it looks like in code. You find the layout and the pager from the schema, and then you set adapter in the view pager, and then you set up with view pager with the view pager you just created. And then on TV, it's very similar to that. So we try to follow the same convention. But you see, instead of view pager, we have Leanback view pager, and instead of tab layout, we have Leanback tab layout. And these are optimized for usage on TV. So they support D-pad navigation and kind of all of the things that you would want on a TV. And the third new launch we have for Leanback is AppCompat. So AppCompat has been very popular in Android. It helps future-proof code that you write. The problem is it didn't work well on TV. And you see this code sample on the right-hand side. Because AppCompat wasn't supported on TV, it didn't run well. So it either didn't compile, or in some cases it compiled and then it crashed or it didn't work well. So what developers had to do was to branch their code and to run different things on mobile and TV. And all of these one-line differences made it hard to create cross-surface applications. So I'm excited to say that starting from now, we support AppCompat natively in Leanback. And here you can see an example of how that looks like, where you have a schema that uses both AppCompat and Leanback with this example of onboarding. But of course, you could use it any example you want. And here's a source code example where you can see in the bottom AppCompat image view that can work across both mobile and TV, which wasn't available before. Last but not least, auto low latency mode. We're very excited about this one too. So TVs today do a lot of post-processing that improves the image quality or the video quality. So things like intelligent upscaling or frame smoothing. It's great for users when you're watching streaming video, but in some cases like video conferencing or gaming, it's not as responsive as you'd like because the TV has to do this post-processing. So the industry has come out with HDMI auto low latency mode, which basically switches these post-processing enhancements off in favor of faster responsiveness. And starting from now, we support that in Android TV. So on the top, you can see an example of how you could use it in source code. You can check is minimal post-processing supported, which tells you if it's supported on the current display. And if it is, you could set prefer minimal post-processing equals true inside the window. Or if you're going to use it throughout your application, the other way is you could go into your manifest and you could add prefer minimal post-processing equals true in the manifest. So in some cases, some displays might not support it, or some users might disable ALLM. And in that case, it basically will do nothing. So there's no harm in using it either way. So that's it. I know it's a lot and we went through it quickly, but there's a lot more material available. Please visit developer.android.com/training/TV and scroll to the bottom. Look for our new blog post that just came out this morning. It has more information about all of these different launches. Some of them are going to be available immediately starting now. Some of them are going to be rolling out soon. So keep an eye out. Thanks very much for your time and for being patient with us through all of this. I know it was pretty long. If you still have appetite to hear more about Android TV, we're very excited about a few other areas, like, for example, making subscriptions easier and a bunch of other things. Please visit developer.android.com/11weeks and you can find all of our other videos there. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope to see you in another video soon.